I
Week
bet you one
7,
of
let's
the, I bet
go.
you, I bet you one of these days we get copyrighted for that.
No. YouTube puts it through their filter. This is one of
Well, we
those
haven't got
that,
caught yet.
yeah, no. So we're still riding. Let's go, man. Dude, I missed you
Well,
last week. What's new?
feel a little better, less busy, just crazy start to the year so far. So I'm glad to be back. Uh, Glad you were able to hold it down somewhat without me. Went off the rails a couple times there, though.
Well, I see. I'm the kind of host that will come on after putting up 77. Sorry, after putting up 75 points this week. Now I know somebody else who co-hosts this show. They said it was a little bit of a cough. Said I had a little bit of a sore throat. I think it was just because you got your ship pushed in. I'm surprised you even made it past the 60 mark.
I got my shit pushed in again this week. I'm here. That's not the reason. We are in trouble, my friend.
Who, you and me?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, man! I think like listen, my lure's already getting wet. I mean, I am out there.
We- we're on the Montana River. We are fly fishing
That's
at this
exactly
point.
right.
We are
That's
so
exactly
close.
right.
You and I, we've made plans.
Oh,
We've called the hotels, the campgrounds.
oh
We're
yeah.
going to do a little winter fishing because we're about done.
Listen, I bought my fishing license. The only thing you have to do is put on my waders,
I
And
refuse to buy a fishing license. I'll pay the fine.
well, that's what they're going to get you for. I tell you though, the only thing keeping me in, and we're going to get in this, is the only thing that's keeping us or keeping me in it is that everybody else in my division keeps losing too. So anyway, man, listen, it's good
Yep.
to have you back.
Good to
It's
see you.
week 7.
Goes by quick.
It goes by quick. I mean, just a freaking like I know we've said this, and maybe this is just our theme for the entire season. What a crazy football season! I mean, there's like 8 teams right now that are 2-4. I'm talking about real football.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you've got the number one seed in the NFC West, is the Geno-led Seattle Seahawks at 4-3. I mean, Tampa Bay just got beat by a team that's completely in a fire sale.
And I'm going to touch on this in our later segments in the show, but watching football this weekend, the amount of injuries, some that really affect fantasy football, pretty crazy. You have DK going down with the potential patella. Hopefully it's not as serious, but anytime you're dealing with that could lead to more serious injuries later on. And then watching Breece Hall go down, that just gross because he was looking really good. You had made a trade for him, and on paper that was a trade that was fair for both you and Jonas. Him getting Chubb, you getting Breece Hall and a couple of other players, and even with the injury, it's still the right trade for you, both of you guys, to have made that. But it hurts you big time to lose him, especially for the season.
No, absolutely, man, absolutely. Well, we kind of touched a little bit on the NFL, but I just want to do a little foreshadowing for you literate fellas on this show. I know it's only about half of you, but for those of you that know what I'm talking about, man, we've got a first-time special guest. First time he's ever been on the podcast. And we have a new segment this week that I'm super excited about. One of you literate guys who've been listening to this said, hey, you need to do this new segment. We have got it lined up, ready to go. So that'll be really cool. So with that, Dale, what were some of your top performers in the NFL this week?
Well, from the QB position, I think it was pretty obvious. You have Burrow.
Ooh.
That offense is starting to click a little bit, and he's looked pretty good, and he could put up monster numbers real quick. The 3 wide receivers that he has are pretty good. Mixon's pretty good coming out of the backfield as a receiver and a runner, but that offense is starting to click a little bit. And then just Mr. Consistent loses Tyreek Hill at the beginning of the season. Questions about can he combat the defenses that they're putting out there. Mahomes just finding a way to score touchdowns. Andy Reid does such a good job of setting him up for success, and so those are the two that really stood out to me. Dalton, but I don't see that as a super consistent moving forward, so that I didn't add him to my list.
Yeah, no, absolutely. From the running back, position, man, as you mentioned, terrible to see Breece Hall go down. But he had a 60-yard run in the first quarter. I mean, he's looking incredible. But talk about a breakout game. Talk about a welcome to the NFL game. I don't know what you want to call it. But Kenneth Walker the third, right there. My goodness, does he look special.
He looks faster than he did in college in the NFL, which doesn't usually happen. Fortunately enough, I have him in a number of leagues, in both of our big redraft leagues. So I'm glad I have him, because I don't really have much else on at least a league team. In Steve's league, I have a little bit more faith in that team, but he's been fun to watch. Seattle's been a better team than I could ever have thought. Sometimes it's what I don't know if Bill Simmons names it the Ewing effect, where your team becomes better once you lose that star player. And with Seattle losing Russell Wilson and all of the little things that he brings to the table, and you're starting to hear all the noise coming out from former players and his diva ways, and Steve was right, being disingenuous, coming across as this fake person, and he's brought all of that with him to Denver. And maybe it is an addition by subtraction with Seattle. Dennis had mentioned that maybe Pete Carroll's best coaching. They look like a different team. Smiths look good. Kenneth, though, is really driving that train. I think losing Petty, Walker's a better player.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he reached 22 miles per hour. Fastest of any ball carrier in the National Football this year with football in his hand. I mean, he was a 4.38 speed. To be able to do that in pads, in the game, in the third quarter, man, that just speaks volumes. So who's some of your top, well, before we go to wide receiver, Travis Etienne. Man, they just traded James Robinson from the Jags to the Jets for a conditional 6th-round pick, and Travis Etienne probably had a lot to do with his performance this week.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to hold up as a full-time running back. I liked James Robinson, and the fact that they didn't give him the ball is a little bit surprising. I think before we move on, we need to talk about a running back that plays for this team that I'm wearing right here. He's one of those players that gets – I think he kind of beat you in a league, didn't he?
Yep.
He's one of those players, you need to feed him the ball. Like, he's just one of those guys that gets better as the game goes along. Feed him the ball more instead of less. Like, I don't think he's one of those running backs that does well in a committee role or anything like that. I think feed him the ball. They've been better once they've started feeding him the ball.
No, you're exactly correct. I was making the moment, just moving, not to speed you along, but to say, holy cow, they just keep feeding him and feeding him and feeding him. Because I was real confident, real maybe even cocky to be if I really am truthful. I was beating the brakes off of FBA, Foundational Black American. When I say beating the brakes off of him, he had a 20% chance to win. And then Jacobs went ahead and put up 38.5 points.
Big game.
And I lost. Big game. All right, what's the wide receiver position looking like?
I'll make this quick. Tyler Boyd for the Bengals got off to a hot start, but continued it throughout the game. Juju Smith-Schuster's looked pretty good for KC. And then somebody who we've brought up a couple of times in this segment, a rookie, plays for the Saints, Olave. He's really good, and he's fun to watch.
He is. There's no doubt about it. I'll just say one thing, and I've said it once, and I'll say it again. This is a little fins up here. I had no idea that the Dolphins would be able to support both Hill and Waddle. I just think they look good, man. They continue to put up points. I've been really impressed with both those two wide receivers.
Especially with Tua there.
Yeah, especially with Tua there. Absolutely. What did the tight end landscape look like?
Gross once again every week. Eventually the NFL will come back to employing tight ends in a more useful way, but a lot of teams just aren't. Maybe it's because of a lack of a talent, but the only one that really stood out to me was Kittle this week.
Yeah, Kittle did have a good game. I either that or we need to adapt and let's make every tight end catch worth 5 points. I'm just throwing it out
I don't
there.
know if I'd go that high, but either we adjust the scoring for tight ends to make it somewhat more relevant, or we just lump them in with pass catchers, and that's what we do.
And that would have been.
And we said that at the beginning of the season too.
Yeah.
That was kind of like one thing that we had discussed as a transition within fantasy football to that format.
No, I agree. Actually, you took that right out of my mouth. I think that'd be just have another just lump it in the tight end or lump it in the wide receiver position and let's roll.
Yeah.
And hey, if you want to draft a Kelsey or I guess Mark Andrews most weeks, even though this past week wasn't that good, you can go ahead and do it. Anything else from just the national football top players that you want to hit on?
No, but I think it is interesting to note some of the trades that are happening and how many other trades we'll see that will more importantly affect fantasy football moving forward. There's some rumblings out there. I think you kind of mentioned something earlier today about Buffalo Bills, and what was the other team that you had mentioned?
The Rams.
Reaching out for Kareem Hunt. So who knows what we'll see. Football teams should trade more than they actually do. It's crazy how little they trade in the NFL as opposed to some of the other leagues. I would love to see a little bit more movement, and teams should be willing to take a little bit of risk.
No, 100%. No, I hear you. And I actually think, James Robinson being traded for conditional 6th-round pick, that tells you all you need to know. What's realistically for Hunt to go for? A 5th? You're not getting a 4th for Kareem Hunt. So, don't you think?
So, whatever it is, it'd be worth it for a team that needs a running back or needs another specific position. Picks are picks. Like, I think the Rams have kind of shown us that they're not nearly as important when you're in that win now mode. And so if you're a team like the Buffalo Bills who are in win now mode and Singletary's not quite that player that can rush in late in the season, especially in the playoff run, I'd look to go out and get somebody like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Cool. All right, man. Let's go South Hill Dynasty recap. And really, I want you to run through this quick, but we need to
I'm just going to go through.
We cannot leave without highlighting where the real battle's going on in South Hill.
Well, it's kind of top heavy and bottom heavy within this league. Pringle sitting at 6-1. The person that shall not be named also sitting at 6-1. Jason 5-2 hanging in the back, and then you have 3 teams here that are kind of in the mix a little bit with Creed, Jonas, and Steve all sitting at 4-3. Spencer 3-4, Isaac 3-4. The brothers they're sitting on the outside, kind of looking in, and then you have the people bringing up the back of the pack. Andy, myself, will all be 2-5. Or did you get a win this week?
Oh, I did, unfortunately. That's the real story.
And then Dennis, I think it's going to be really, really hard for anybody to catch him in the loss department there. I think he's sitting pretty at 1-6. I think he's going to have the number 1 overall pick.
So you know what's funny about Dennis? Is Dennis in the last 3 years, he has been either that 1, 2, or 3. The last 3 years. But he's never gone through a rebuild. He doesn't trade. He doesn't trade away any of his players, but he's still in the bottom 3. You and I, at least, we can say that our teams suck completely, but at least we've traded away all the assets. What the hell is Hotep Dennis doing?
I don't know. You look at somebody like Andy who's tried to make somewhat of a transition and do a full rebuild, and for him to not be there quite yet, it's got to be a little bit disheartening for him. But Dennis, do something.
Do something.
You drafted the oldest team when we did this restart, but you're not trade some players for picks. Those 3rd and 4th rounders actually can hit. So don't be afraid to take a little bit, less of a discount or take a little bit of a discount on some of the trades, move some players, change your team up a little bit because whatever you're doing,
It ain't working. It ain't working. Well, like I said, the big news is that Jins and Win put up 112.58 points. He outscored everybody, at least to this point. Um, and really, this team is not looking that bad. Kenneth Walker, Devonta Foreman, which that's a question. But I mean, I've got some good young guys here. Miles Sanders, I didn't play Khalil Herbert, which I should have. Juju Smith was on the bench. Devonta Smith. I had Chris Olave on the bench. That's not a bad fantasy team. But I'm 1 year away, and you boys better watch out. So anyway, let's move on to A-League recap. What all you knuckleheads come to talk about. Man, I'm gonna pass it back over to you, Remy. Let's talk about the A-League.
well, let's go ahead and just start with me. Jonas beat me. I could have made a couple of sit-start decisions that might have had a chance to come back and beat him, but Jonas has a decent team. He was without a lot of his big guns. If he had all those guys that weren't playing on buys, I would have got beat by even more. My team's not very good. It's probably not going to get much better as the season goes along. I just don't have. I don't have a good defense. I don't have a good kicker. I don't have a good tight end, and I don't have top wide receivers, and so I'm not going to be there. Jonas, on the other hand, he's got some players, and they're playing pretty well, and especially if Travis Etienne kind of comes on and is that stud running back for him, when he has his full assortment of players, he's a tough team to beat.
You know, he's the thing. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, obviously playing Tennessee, great start decision on him. I missed that one. I don't know when he picked him up, but that's a good start. Nick Chubb he's going to be consistent as long as Chubb stays healthy. He's going to have that bell cow back that you all need in order to make a run to the playoffs.
And I think if Jonas makes it to the playoff run and for that playoff stretch with our rivalry matchups, if Watson comes back and can solidify that offense and be a little bit more balanced, Brissett is not very good. If Watson can come in and kind of pick up where he left off at his peak with Texans, saying a lot, hard to come back after being gone as long as he has. But I think that provides a little bit more upside for Chubb's scoring ability.
Well, also, if Kareem Hunt gets shipped out, I mean, then he's got the backfield.
Exactly.
Next matchup.
Okay, just a sec here. I'm trying to go for my phone here. I apologize.
Okay.
We have probably the number one team right now. Joe beats Jason. Jason's got a pretty good team, but Joe put a whooping on him, buoyed by that Bengals offense. He's got a lot of parts from that Bengals offense, and when they're all clicking like this in a down week from Waddle, Joe's got a good team. He loses Njoku, but he's one of the few people that has two tight ends. Goddard is not a bad backup to have. And I expect Jason's team to bounce back a little bit from this. Not an upper echelon team like Joe has, but got something that's going to be competitive most weeks.
Dale, do you live next to the L train? Is that your train?
We do. We live literally a block from the train tracks.
Nice. Yeah, I'll tell you, man, this is the best team I've ever seen Joe have. Waddle, Higgins, Mixon, Ramondre. Obviously, Joku's out, but
Diggs. He's got Carter, who now could take on a lead role, even with James Robinson coming in.
Absolutely. Cordell Patterson's going to come back. You got Michael Gallup that'll get some more touches. Chuba
Hubbard, yep.
I mean, come on. I really like that team, and we'll be talking more about him later. All right. Where are we heading next?
We're heading to Andy versus Cree.
Ooh,
Andy gets a win.
Matchup.
Andy gets a win. He's got a solid team. He lost Amon St. Brown early in that game. First play of the game. They saying it's not a concussion. I'm gonna be honest. I was watching it live when it happened. It was a concussion.
Yeah.
He looked woozy after getting hit. It was smart on them to take him out of the game. Kenyon Drake, you can't have him be your second running back. That's just not going to work. I'm looking at Aaron Jones. He, good scoring day, but how they are utilizing him and how this Green Bay offense is being
Oh,
utilized, I hate it. They're not a very fun team to watch right now. They don't have a commitment to the run. They should be giving him the ball 20 times a game running the ball. And they're not. And their overall record reflects that. Then you look at Cree. Cree's got a solid team, but he loses DK Metcalf. How much is that going to play a factor in his success long term? But he does pick up. He does have James Robinson. Is
oh
that going
man,
to
I
be
think
a
you're having
player
some
that?
connection issues.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Boy, sorry, fellas, we're having a little bit
I
of
think it's on
technical
your end.
difficulties. Dale's his internet's coming in and out. Hey, are you hearing us? Okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just went off the screen, so I'm gonna have to take this guy over here. Uh, I look at Cobra Kai. I look at Andy's team, and he's hurting for running back depth. Now you look at Cree's team. Metcalf always coming back, but Hopkins is going to be big coming down the line. I like his team too. I think that out of our division, that's going to be. I think Cree still is the team to beat. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go to Cream of the Crop versus Dustin Eckler. So, boy, is this this might be Spency's second win in a row. Man, I love watching Aaron Rodgers fail. I don't know how he keeps rolling them out there. Nice job, Spency, to have the gonads to put him up. I mean, 19.76 points is more than you want from him, or less than you want from him. It looks like we got Remi back.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you great.
Sorry about that. I
All
don't
good.
know what was going on there.
Hey, we are right in the middle of Cream of the Crop versus Dustin Eckler. I think it's Spency's second win in a row. I just was saying, man, it's like Aaron Rodgers and that Green Bay offense, as you just mentioned. Oh, that's tough, dude. It is tough to watch, and I always am rooting against Green Bay. But what do you think about Spencer's team?
Well, I like Spencer's team. I think it's good. It's a solid team. I think if a couple things go his way, he could be even better. If he gets a healthy Keenan Allen, who hardly played at all. And then you look at Kyle Pitts. I don't know what Atlanta's doing with him. They're not doing anything with him. He probably should have had a touchdown in that game, so his numbers should have been a little bit better. But they are not utilizing him in the right way. Stretch the field with him. Get him the ball in his hands a little bit more. And is Eno Benjamin going to be the dude there with Connor being hurt and just everything that's going on in Arizona? I don't love what's going on there. But if he could be a solid contributor, he's got a nice three-headed monster at running back if they're all producing.
No, I agree. Love Pierce. Love Austin Eckler. Again, I don't think it's a bad team. I think I think he's okay. What about Cream of the Crop?
If I'm Pringle, I'm trading Josh Allen. I think it's his. I'm doing something to change my team because he just doesn't have enough depth, especially a running back. Like I'm changing my team a little bit. I don't mind maybe going to each week with Tua or possibly trading for another team's quarterback and trying to change up. I'm getting like three different pieces for him to change my team around because if he doesn't, I don't think he's got a chance of winning.
I agree, man. I agree. But then again, I mean, now so I came to Pringle, and Pringle made the right decision. Don't get me wrong. But I came to Pringle the last 2 weeks in a row trying to get Christian McCaffrey, and I was willing to give up a lot to get him because I wanted to see if he got traded to a better offense. He did get traded to the Niners. First game out was a little tough, but boy, if Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, and Josh Allen can all finish this year up, I mean, he's going to win some games. But I tend to agree with you on that one, Dale. I don't like doing that all the time, but I tend to agree on this one. I think you have a few pieces that you'd be able to move to just at least make yourself competitive, because that 85 points. I mean, yeah, sure, his ceiling might be might be low hundreds like that, right around that 106. But I just don't see him putting up 140 points like Joe does.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this next matchup between Isaac and Steve. I don't think either of these teams has a chance to really compete and win. Steve, I asked him why he's struggling this year. He said he made a mistake in not attacking quarterback early and getting one of the top guns. And so that hurt him. Buying into the Denver offense hurt him. Losing Javonte, obviously, but his team not very good. I don't think Isaac's is a whole lot better. It's a little bit better, but he has some deficiencies in his team too. But I like it better than some of the other lower tiered people within our league. Me, you, and Steve.
No, I hear you. Dak Prescott, Derrick Henry, Juju's coming on, Travis Kelce, Mike Williams is going to be out for a while, so he's going to have to, to find that wide receiver. But I mean, it's yeah, I think that Isaac's going to be in some games for sure. Steve's got big problems, and I'm going to talk about Steve a little bit later here in the show. But Steve's got big problems. So let's move on, so I don't divulge too much about a future segment.
Yeah, we have Dennis versus you. Dennis has a pretty good team. I think it's one of his stronger teams in years. He's got depth. He has Gus Edwards maybe coming on with that Baltimore Ravens offense. They like to run the ball. I've always really appreciated his running style. And so I think he's going to be a tough team to beat, especially if Josh Jacobs is playing at the level that he's playing at. And then this is even with Mark Andrews not scoring very much, nor Lamar Jackson scoring very much. I don't think that's going to happen every single week. So I like Dennis's team moving forward. A little bit low scoring this week, but it's playing against one of the lesser teams in our league.
Hey, listen, man, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I got a lot of problems with my elite team. I mean, I don't know. Derek Carr was a huge mistake. I played Romeo Dobbs. Dude had 2 or 3 drops. Aaron Rodgers just stopped going to him. Yeah, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, and Ezekiel Elliott. I feel like that's a 3-headed running back trio that could really win some games. Unfortunately, Alvin Kamara's not getting in the end zone. I mean, he just keeps
the key word that you said there was at the beginning, and I think it's somewhat similar to Steve's predicament. You drafted Derek Carr as your number 1 QB, and I think that's why you're in the position that you are. Losing Breece Hall, that's just pure bad luck, but you should have never tied your hitch to Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's a mistake I gotta make again. That is 100% true.
What was it about that time?
Did we get them all?
Bring on it? Yeah.
We did. We got them all. Yeah, let's bring on our special guest.
Cree, come on aboard.
Hey, boys, what's going on? Let's
Fonzy,
go!
what's up?
Hey, tax season's over. I'm out of the cocoon. The ugly caterpillar is flying as a beautiful butterfly.
Go, baby.
I do want to say one thing. I mean, you guys obviously dropping some knowledge. I think really the quarterback position has been a key to our fantasy league since inception. And even myself, taking Kyler Murray, not grabbing Burrow, the people who took Brady, these little tranches where you're trying to find value. If you don't get one of those elite guys, you need somebody who's going to kind of carry that for you. And I think you guys really hit on why some of teams are struggling, myself, not getting that production.
No, I appreciate that, man. I'm glad you came on. It's good to see you. As good as you're good. We could sit here and I could ask you, how what your blood pressure is and if you're healthy, but nobody cares about any of that other stuff. We want to talk about fantasy football. So, I think it's the quarterback position and the tight end position. There's a few of those elite guys, right? And so I guess what's happening is, and this is what even you and I talked about a little bit during the draft, Cree, is like So it seems like you're able to find, if you find a running back later in like that 4th, 5th, 6th round that hits, or at least gives you some production, it allows you to go quarterback, good quarterback, tight end early. I've just always been afraid that if you invest in that quarterback, that tight end early, you get one of those top 3 guys, top 4 guys, that you're going to leave yourself without depth. But we're seeing that you've got to have one of those top 3 quarterbacks or top couple of tight ends to have those positional advantages.
Yeah, it's really that value-based drafting. What's going to give you the edge when you're looking at, comparable positions. Jake alluded to this earlier, or explicitly stated that the tight end position is a joke right now. And if we decide collectively to do something, I think we do, because it's a garbage position, and those guys who actually are providing value aren't really tight ends. They're wide receivers, That's right? True. So I think we have to do something there. It's just not fun watching... pick a guy, right?
Dalton Schultz. I mean, here I am, I'm texting Steve, which, a lot of that's done me this year. I'm texting, hey man, should I play Robert Tonyan or Dalton Schultz? Well, who gives a fuck? It was 4 points versus 3 points. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're quibbling over a couple points here or there when shit, man, none of it matters. So. Well,
what other observations have you kind of made, from the start of our draft to where we're at now? Just what are your thoughts? What are some of the tendencies you've seen, or just observations that you have in fantasy or the NFL?
Yeah, I think, one thing, and I don't know if it's, that recency bias, or our own, interests are coming in here. It just seems like injuries are hitting harder than they have in the past. I don't know if it's 17 weeks. I don't know if it's cutting these things down, or if it's just an accumulation of punishment. But every week, somebody's being hit hard with significant injuries. And it's kind of the name of the game. So who's drafting the guys that are really putting themselves in a position to blow up? Kenneth Walker, right? So a guy that you guys think has talent that just needs the opportunity, well, he gets it and runs off with it. So I think in our league, so competitive, and even the people who aren't putting as much time as others, it's really hard to find that competitive advantage. We're fucking doing a podcast on it, so it's those things that I think are really going to be what happens in the years to come, and how do the big players in our league separate themselves when the margins are so thin and injuries are big.
I think you bring up a really good point. I think early on in fantasy, if you had a little bit of information that other people didn't have access to, it gave you a leg up. That one year when Joe had bought some type of subscription, but he used it to his advantage and did really well. There's so much information out there that there's no such things as sleepers anymore. There is no such thing as deep sleepers anymore. The majority of the people that are considered those type of players are drafted in our leagues. Right, even some of the third string running backs who do have that path to big time plays, and so you're right. It's very difficult to separate from the pack anymore because the information is there's so much of it, and it's all free.
Yeah, and I think the last point I'll kind of conclude with on this topic is that saying what we're seeing kind of in our league too is the difference between the top and bottom are the people who are a little bit more aggressive, taking chances, as opposed to being conservative, coupled with just bad luck of injuries. And it's those things I think that really, separate the top from the bottom. And that's why we kind of see, it's kind of like our league's the NFL. There's parity, but it's great because everybody does have a chance. And hopefully everybody's kind of enjoying the season. I always say draft the players you want to watch, man, because your team could be bad pretty quickly, and this shit could be pretty miserable if you don't have some guys you're not liking.
Yeah, no,
could not agree more.
I agree 100% because I'll just say, you look at Steve. I mean, if Javonte Williams and Swift weren't hurt, and they were putting up the points that they were supposed to be putting up, where you draft them at, that's a different. I mean, that's a completely different.
And Tom Brady. Right?
Yeah.
You're looking at some of these quarterbacks who have been around forever. Matt Ryan gets benched today. and he should have been benched much earlier. I talked to Farline about this weeks ago. I think Sam Ehlinger, regardless if he's making rookie mistakes or some of the mistakes based off of experience, he just brings more dynamicism to that offense. And Rodgers not looking quite the same. Brady not looking quite the same. And they've been able to kind of extend the QB careers a little bit. But once they hit that cliff, and I think we're seeing it a little bit with some of these quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. All right, guys. So we've got a new segment. We're excited about it. Spency wrote me last week. He's like, Nick, can we do some power rankings? So for the first time ever, we have compiled our power rankings. Now, before we reveal our power rankings, and I don't know what Dale's is, he doesn't know what mine is, we're going to share our 2 power rankings. Creed, we're going to get your input on it, but we want to talk about how did the 2 of us come up with these power rankings. So for me, I'm looking at who's scoring the most points, who's got the best win-loss record, and who do I just look at, and I look at their roster and I go, yeah, that's somebody that I don't necessarily want to play. That's a good roster. It's got some depth. So that's how I'm evaluating the power rankings. Dale, I know you took a little bit of different approach. How are you coming up with your power rankings?
Well, somewhat different from yours. I'm purely looking at it. Do I want to play this team this week? That's purely how I'm looking at it.
PR1, baby, let's go.
Love it. Fans up.
If both teams were at full power, would I want to play that team this week? That's purely how I'm doing these power rankings.
Nice. All right. So, with no further ado, I'm going to let you choose, Dale. Now, remember, this is completely unscripted right now. Do you want to start from 12 and work our way up, or you want to start from 1 and work our way down?
I think I'd like to start from 1 and kind of work our way down.
Okay.
I think we'll provide a little bit more comedy for the crew here if we do it that way.
All right. So, number 1 in our first ever power rankings on the Remi Red Show. Dale, who do you got?
Somebody who I never would have thought would be here at the beginning of this year. Joey. Italian Stallion, Koza, Joey Meatballs. His team right now I think is the most dangerous. It sits at the number 1 spot.
I got him as a number 1 spot too. I think there's no doubt about it, man. I mean, he just put up 140 burger, and he's still counting because Ramondre Stevenson's still going to put up some points. Man, Joe, let's go, baby. Number 1 overall. Number 2 overall, I got FBA, man. That's the Foundational Black American. To me, I think Dennis has got the second best team in the league. Dale, what you got?
You and me, my friend, are on the same page here.
Man.
It was surprising a couple of years ago when I went back and did the true power rank. Remember, at your behest, they were higher than we thought, or higher than I had originally thought. They had the 2 best teams. I'm surprised because generally they don't. But this year, Joe and Dennis had the 2 best teams.
Fonzy, quick temperature check. How are we doing so far? Hot being we think we got the top 2. Cold being, hey man, you guys have missed our first 2.
The shit's on fire. Let's fucking
Let's
go.
Baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So,
I mean, I don't like it, but it's the truth, right?
Okay. Who do you got for your number 3 team?
And I think I'm going to lump the next 3 teams together as interchangeable. I think that they're all fairly safe, and we can save a little bit of time without going one by one through each of these. But I have Jason, Cree, and Spencer as that next block of contenders. I think that they have the next 3 strongest teams, and then it gets a little bit weaker as we go through here. But those are the next 3 that I have on board.
Interesting. Well, you and I now have diverted paths here. My next 3, I've got Cobra Kai, Jake Fancher, and Spencer at 3, 4, 5. Okay. I still think Cobra Kai, he's putting up some wins. I mean, now granted, running back depth does have a little bit of a challenge for me. I get that. However, I think that's a team that can win each and every day. There's no reason why Jake Fancher should be Joni Baloney, should be at number 5 overall. He got beat 2 weeks in a row by the top scoring team. I was one of them. I put up 140 points. So he lost 2 teams 2 weeks in a row by the top scorer. Otherwise, he would have a better overall record. I think he's got a good team. So, and then Spencer, I think you and I both got Spencer number 5. I think he's got a good team. If things break right, I think he's going to be able to be right there at the end. So that's my 3, 4, 5. All right. Starting now with your 6, 7, 8. Who do you got?
I got kind of Andy in his own little special spot, and then I have Jonas and Isaac on the next. So we do have a little bit of flip flop there, and maybe you're right with Jonas. Maybe I should have him a little bit higher on this list after kind of hearing some of the arguments and whatnot. He's not a team I'd really particularly like to play at full strength. Chris?
Yeah, no, I'm bringing in the first for me. Here's the first mention of anybody in our division. That's myself, Cree, Weeds, and Palouse Posse. I've got Cree at number 6 overall. I think that despite the record of Jason being number 2, I think Cree's got 501c3. Let's go. That's a very clever name. I like it. 501c3.
Better than
I
yours.
think he's... we'll get to that. I think he's the best team in our division, but that still puts us at number 6 overall. Number 7, I got straight trash homies. So it's not like there's a huge difference in my power rankings, but I got him right below Creed. And then number 8 overall, I got Jensen Wins. I think, I'm being honest here, I think that I still believe Alvin Kamara and Zeke, and now without Breece Hall, with Kareem Hunt, especially if he moves to another team. I mean, Gabe Davis, Chris Godwin. I don't know, man. I still think that on any given week, above some other people I know that you have above me, I've still put up high points for a week once. So I just want to say that at least gets me to the number 8 spot. What do you got now? Who's your number 8?
I got the last before we get to our last place, but I have you at the 9 spot, I have Steve at the 10, and then I have myself at the 11. So, I got to be objective here. I don't think any of those 3 teams are winning it this year, and so they're low men on the totem pole right now. They just don't have teams that are competitive in their records. Even if they get hot, it's going to be too difficult to I think come back with the amount of games that we have left.
No, and we're gonna let our special guest come in here and weigh in. I've got Isaac, I got Dale. Worst team name. Takes down Dailies. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And then number 11 overall is Palouse Posse. Steve has had back-to-back weeks where he hasn't got out of the 60s. That puts you in the number 11 spot. And the number 12 spot has got to be Pringle, cream of the crop, PR12. Fonzy, tell us we're not wrong here.
No, I mean, you guys are, get up on the fucking pulpit, preach. I'm talking in tongues here. You guys are spitting knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So,
Cree, who do you think, honestly, though, and we're somewhat joking here, but, well, until proven otherwise, but if you were to say who are the bottom 2 teams in our that should be listed at the bottom of the power rankings, who do you think that should be?
Yeah, I think Steve will tell you right up that unfortunately things just didn't break right for him. So I think with the back-to-back 60s that Farline was talking about is up there, and really it's kind of hard to kind of determine, but I think you guys are pretty close, pretty right, and I do think there are, there's those top 2 with Foundational Black American, and Joe that really are kind of the cream of the crop, pun intended. And so and then after that, I don't want to give away my bold prediction, but I'll have a little bit more to say as we conclude there. But I think you guys are right, and I'm curious to see how this changes because I've always utilized the power rankings little drop down within the Yahoo check. So, but that's a function of points left available, maximizing starting lineups. So it could really fluctuate depending on somebody being out, like a quarterback, or just playing with defenses. And it doesn't really kind of take into play like AI intelligence is what I would call it, where I had been kind of on that 1 or 2 line, but yet my team wasn't as good as Joe or Dennis's. So I'm curious to see how that changes over the next 3 or 4 weeks as we really kind of dial in who's making the moves on the waiver wire or who's playing with defenses to kind of put themselves in the best position to make that playoff run.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Fonzy. All right, we got bold predictions of the week. All right, you alluded to it. You got a bold prediction of the week. We'll start with our special guest. What is your bold prediction of the week?
Yeah, this goes right into what you guys were talking about, Jonas. I think with James Robinson getting shipped off to New York, and by the way, Etienne was taking over regardless. So I think it's just a benefit for James Robinson, really, and me because I have him. But and then with the trade with Chubb, I think that, like Jake said, it was fair. But Jonas got the right side of the luck on that one. I think Jonas is gonna make a run here, and I think he's gonna be back in the playoffs. And we'll see if he can get lucky and maybe get another banner under his belt. So my bold prediction is Jonas is going to ascend, make the playoffs, and really push for a championship this year.
Great call. That is a bold prediction. That might be the boldest of predictions that we've had on this show. All right, Remi, what's your bold prediction of the week?
Well, that's not going to last very long. I'm going to win out the rest of the regular season.
Do I need to write that down?
I love it.
Are you really? I'm going to write it down right here. All right.
Hey, we're going. We're going bold.
I have zero chance of making the playoffs unless I do that. So I'm giving my only chance. I'm a reverse wheedling myself, and I'm going to make the playoffs by winning out.
Wow, that's incredible. My bold prediction is less bold than either of your predictions, and my bold prediction is that everybody in our division, that's 501c3, that's our boy Weeds, Palouse Posse, and myself, I think we all get W's this week. That's my bold prediction. So, with that being said, we had a big gaffe here. So, we were so excited to bring our special guest. We did not do our great, meh, and shit of the week. So, you're going to stick with us through this one, Fonzy. All right, Jake, what is your great of the week?
I have two, and I'll make these quick. Bengals offense coming on is one of my greats of the week, and then Raiders and Hawks getting wins.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, my great of the week, Kenneth Walker III. I just thought that's unbelievable. And then Joey Meatball gets a nod. I mean, anytime you put up over 140 points any week, you get a nod from me for great of the week. All right, what is your meh of the week?
Baseball playoffs. I think they've been meh. I don't have really anything to look forward to outside of maybe Houston losing. But my meh right now is the baseball playoffs. I have zero interest anymore in these playoffs.
Worst playoffs in the last 5 years.
I agree.
So you know what's so funny about that? What's so funny about that is, for me, it's not the worst playoffs in the last 21 years because the Mariners got there. So it's been the best playoffs. But my meh was going to be the Astros-Yankees. I mean, if an asteroid could have hit right in the middle and just put the end of the entire series, I
would have loved that, dude. I would say it put me out of my fucking misery. Don't even win.
I agree. It was not enjoyable to watch. No. The Yankees this year weren't an enjoyable team to watch for me.
Not a lot of passion either. If you're going to lose with passion,
I agree, Chris. This was not fun to watch for me.
Yeah. So, shit of the week. I'll start. My shit of the week is I'm coming back to Palouse Posse. You cannot go 2 weeks in a row not scoring above 60 points and not get a shit of the week. So, that was shit. The other shit, man, is you just hate to see, and I know this is a little self-centric here, but Breece Hall, when I made the trade, Chubb for Breece Hall, I was banking, either way, I was banking on him having a Jonathan Taylor light kind of second half of the season. And I thought he started to do it. So to lose a bright young star like that, a rookie at the running back position, it just makes the NFL a little bit less fun to watch. So my other shit of the week is Breece Hall going out with an ACL.
Yep.
My shit of the week, poor coaching in the NFL right now. It is disgusting. Detroit, Arizona, Denver, San Diego. I don't like watching any of these teams. These are not NFL head coaches, and they are, with the talent that they have on some of these teams, they should be better than they are, but their coaching is holding them back.
Awesome.
Shit of the week.
Gentlemen, great show. Fonzy,
Chris, thanks for coming on.
That was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Fellas, until we see you next week.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Appreciate it. Let's go. Bye.